Zombies. History's most terrifying urban legends, now becoming a reality.
Many cultures have different stories of folklore, and these types of stories just don't appear out of thin air. A lot of them are rooted in some type of truth.
Zombies may have started out as some kind of a cult myth, but they're as real today as anything else.
New, more potent drugs and super viruses linked to freakish crimes suggest that modern science could be turning fiction into fact.
The isolated head lives on for hours and reacts to external stimuli.
Society is researching new drugs, new prescriptions, new biohazard chemicals to use, and each and every one has a different effect on the human body. They can turn your mind into mush. In essence, you're turned into a zombie.
Is the United States about to unleash the next zombie plague? And could these super viruses be related to a growing number of zombie-like attacks around the world?
If your mind or your body is making you eat another human being, there's something wrong.
Tonight, you'll believe the unbelievable when the shocking truth behind real-life zombies is unsealed. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed, Conspiracy Files. Saturday, May 26th, 2012. Miami, Florida. 911 calls alert authorities to an act of unbelievable violence. Too gruesome to fathom.
It's a naked man eating another man. I'm eating him.
A crazed, naked attacker is eating the face of a stunned, homeless man. An incredulous police officer responds to the horror. After repeated attempts to subdue the aggressor, the officer finally shoots and kills the man who may someday become known as Patient Zero.
If you're on some drug that has affected your mind where you don't feel pain and where you've been altered to the effect that you don't have morality anymore, you have a very scary scenario where, yeah, you can shoot this guy and he's going to continue eating somebody's face.
Some say this demented cannibal is the byproduct of a government experiment. Did state-sponsored bioengineers unwittingly create a zombie?
One research scientist at the University of Miami's hospital in 2010 explained how a zombie virus could be created and then ultimately spread throughout society. That was not too long before this man showed up in Florida eating another man's face that the media labeled a zombie. Is that a coincidence?
Is the government teaming with university scientists to develop hybrid viruses that could create an army of zombies? Or was Rudy Eugene some other kind of monster?
We have been experimenting on unwitting victims all the way back since World War II. What if Rudy had been picked up and was the subject of an experiment?
Did the government experiment on Rudy Eugene? Or was Eugene himself a victim of an infected lab rat that escaped a top-secret research facility? Some experts theorize an even more sinister explanation.
Rabies can also affect the human mind and the way that we act in a very violent way.
Now, rabies, which transfers from animals to humans, involves attacking others. It could have something in common with the zombie thing.
A second, equally horrific incident of zombie-like behavior emerges in Baltimore, Maryland. College student Alexander Kinua allegedly dismembers and eats part of his roommate's heart and brain.
This ROTC candidate was cutting open a person, was eating that person's entrails, was actually performing cannibalistic acts. Was it something coming out of Fort Detrick? Was he a subject in an experiment? Fort Detrick, by the way, is the center of our country's biological warfare program.
Is the U.S. military trying to cover up a biological experiment gone wrong? Or is this a calculated leak to test superviruses on the unknowing public? A recent onset of horrifying news stories featuring people attacking and then eating the flesh of other humans makes many wonder if we're facing a real threat from the walking dead.
All these stories in the media have now started to pop up about zombies, people that have these uncontrollable urges, whether they're eating their wife's arm, or one case, this man literally stabbed himself, cut himself open, cut out pieces of his entrails and started throwing it at the cops. I mean, who does that?
Are these incidents signs of impending doom? And are we all potential walking zombies? When we return, a man reunites with his father 6 years after his own funeral. Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.
Voodoo is actually a legitimate religion with over 60 million adherents. We think of zombies in the Caribbean. In Haiti, the zombie is thought of as the living dead, a person who has been brought back to life.
Unsealed case file. Real-life Haitian zombie. In the 1990s, a man named Wilfred Dorisson reunited with his father after an absence of several years. The last time he'd seen his son, at his funeral. Wilfred seemed different, soulless, according to his friends and family. His uncle, Boliveau Dorisson, who had allegedly been employing Wilfred on his farm, was taken into custody. The charge, turning Wilfred into a zombie.
C'est pas lui-même, c'est Wilfred, c'est petit moi.
Wilfred's father kept him in stocks at their family home.
In Haiti, there's an awareness of the zombie practices, so much so that they put it into the legal code that it is against the law to turn someone into a zombie.
Wilfred's uncle was convicted on the charge of zombification and sentenced to life in prison. Could Haitian zombies infect the United States? Perhaps they have already.
Now you have a big event in Miami. Homeless guy gets his face eaten off by another man out of nowhere. So is it a coincidence, or is this something new? Is this something connected to some type of new virus?
From voodoo to viruses, your zombie fate is closer than you might think. Stories of brain-hungry zombies have been around for centuries. Only now are these myths beginning to sound more like reality. Experts have one theory how.
The military is researching microscopic nanobots that can ultimately do whatever you ask them to do or program them to do. Make them fight a war, make them kill a person.
This technology could not only land in the wrong hands, it could take on a life of its own.
When you deal with a virus like rabies, that's something that's much more violent than something like mad cow. But what happens when that mutates? Or what happens when humans create a more violent strain of rabies that we can't control? And that's a very scary scenario.
4 months before the Miami zombie attack, a suspicious surge in rabies vaccinations occurs just north of the city. Speculation alludes to a government release of a rabies supervirus.
There was a conspiracy theory that was being circulated that down in the Florida area, a biological warfare facility was testing a rabies virus. And it was a rabies virus that could affect human beings.
When you get into these viruses that start mutating and being morphed into something that maybe we can fight it on Tuesday, but we can't on Wednesday, that's a pretty scary scenario.
H1N1, swine flu. This human disease has killed over 18,000 people since it arrived in 2009, and it seems to have spawned an even deadlier flu virus in 2012.
There is a theory that in addition to H1N1, avian flu, swine flu, all the variations of flu, there's a new one. H1Z1, this is also called the zombie flu. Whether real or not, is a flu that supposedly stops the patient's heart and then can restart the heart.
The zombie flu virus may be a hoax, but what if the military did possess the ability to reanimate a dead body? The Soviet Union did just that in the 1940s. Unsealed case file. Russian zombie tech.
During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was conducting experiments to figure out could they reanimate dead tissue, dead organ, and they were able to bring back, after they decapitated a dog, bring back its head without its body.
The isolated head even reacts to light and to sound.
If reanimation technology existed over 50 years ago, imagine where it is today.
The Russians have spent the last decade and a half researching what is now called a zombie ray gun. This is something that could be fired to another human being into their head and ultimately just mash their brain and render it absolutely useless.
Of course, there's a more traditional way to create a zombie. The Haitian voodoo priest employs a centuries-old method using pufferfish neurotoxin and the ground-up leaves of the poisonous manchineel tree.
What the witch doctor does is give somebody a very, very powerful drug, which slows the heart rate, and they virtually die. There's no legitimate physician around to test for bodily signs and such. They then bury the person. Later, with great flourish, the witch doctor unburies the person, gives them a different drug that pulls them out of the first drug. Usually, by the way, the damage done by these drugs is incredible, so the person will have a psychotic break, will never be right in the head again.
Up next, we uncover the necessary tools you will need to endure the zombie apocalypse. Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. What could explain the recent rash of zombie attacks in the U.S.? A military megavirus? A virulent strain of human-born rabies? A mutated superflu? Or even Haitian zombie powder? Whatever the source, it's vital that Americans prepare themselves for the upcoming zombie apocalypse. Unsealed case file. Zombie preparedness plan. May 2011. Atlanta, Georgia. The Center for Disease Control publishes an emergency response guide on how to survive the zombie apocalypse. The report includes benign advice about emergency kit items, gallon jugs of water, non-perishable foods, a battery-powered radio. Buried in the document is the ominous reminder of the CDC's power to isolate and quarantine the public.
Back in 2011, the Center for Disease Control, in an effort to educate the public about being prepared for some type of natural disaster, published a report outlining if zombies were to invade, how could we as a society be prepared for that?
Did a government leak lead to a zombie cover-up? Military virus research is well documented. Super germs are developed and cultured in the lab. With viruses in the open, an outbreak is not only possible, it's inevitable. How will you survive?
What I would personally do, I'd probably just load up my ammo and just prepare for the worst. I don't think there's much more you can do other than that, because let's just face it, if it's a rampant disease being spread throughout society, no gun, no wall, and no shield is going to keep us from that.
The fact is, we are prepared for this. We're prepared for this because we've come so close to Armageddon on so many different occasions that a fool would not prepare for this.
Unsealed case file. Zombie survival condo. 2011, somewhere in north central Kansas. Larry Hall, a software engineer turned survivalist, sees the world around him crumbling and is inspired to action. His idea becomes reality in the form of a converted underground F-1 missile silo, capable of withstanding any apocalypse, including zombies. Each of the 8 units has been sold for $1 million apiece. A second survival condo is reportedly under construction.
Look at all the condos being sold in missile silos to protect against some kind of disease. They're biohazard safe because they were built that way. They exist. For $1 million, get your own half floor in a missile silo, complete with artificial windows and a security system.
One thing they don't have, a known address. If you're one of the lucky 8 who own one, you know where it is. Otherwise, you're out of luck.
There are things you can do that basically will allow you to stay in one piece for 3 to 4 days.
Will these luxury silos be overrun by desperate survivors in the panicked first days of the zombie apocalypse? Or will we be locked out and forced to face herds of brain-eating monsters alone? Survival experts stress the importance of an escape plan. Keep a level head. Go far away from crowded cities. And most of all, make sure you're ready to run. Coming up, could real-life zombies trigger the end of days? Mankind, in its effort to play God, has invited his wrath. The question isn't, will zombies rise? But when? Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. The time to act is now. There are 3 simple steps you can take to unseal the truth.
Follow on Twitter.
Follow the Unsealed Twitter feed to receive breaking news of the latest conspiracies as they develop.
Tell your story.
What did you see that you shouldn't have?
The government's known about it all along. Why has nobody told us?
Upload stories and pictures to our interactive map.
Join the movement.
Get the Unsealed bracelet and the unique code hidden underneath to access exclusive content. Stop living in the dark.
It is definitely coming this way.
Get involved in the fight to unseal the truth. Now. From myth to reality, zombies have jumped from entertainment into real-life news reports. Is the recent rash of zombie-like behavior a sign of a government virus unleashed? Or is it an act of God? Some say Judgment Day could be just around the corner.
Humans could be the ones that lead to their own demise. We are fast-tracking our way to making that really horrific discovery that we can't control.
As with anything that lives, humankind will die. When will man become extinct? And what will be the cause? Could it be that your gravestone will read, Death by Zombie? Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.